morning. I am going to stop and buy one of those mounts for inside my truck so that I'm able to do videos while I drive and share some of you my driving thoughts, because I seem to do a lot of productive thinking while I drive. I wanted to talk about cantering, and I wanted to talk about why so many horses have a problem in cantering. So I've worked hard with a few different people with horses that would panic into a canter and then kind of canter with like a dramatic, uneven gait and struggle to really ever settle down. It seems that the canter is something that they're kind of afraid of. And what I've concluded in some of the horses that I've worked with that have this issue is it's a fear of not knowing exactly what is expected of them, not knowing a cue specific to picking up the canter, and understanding with great confidence that the canter is exactly what they were being asked to do. So I've worked hard on trying to teach some of these horses that we do not need to run so fast that you have no choice but to break into canter, which is how a lot of horses are taught to canter, is that they just get chased until they finally pick up the canter, and then I don't even want to say they're left alone. Often they're not even left alone, especially if they're on a lunge line. A lot of people tend to keep pressure on a horse while they're lunging, even if they're doing the exact thing that they're being asked to do. So I find that a lot of times when I watch people lunge horses, that the whip is still very active, the rope is still very active, their body is still very active, even after the horse has taken the gait or the cue to go and do what they've been asked to do. Even if they're perfectly doing what they've been asked to do, they're still nagged and chased and kind of left uncertain about whether or not they're even doing it right. I find that if I do everything on the ground first, especially my cues, especially my gait cues, so my walk cue is a single kiss, my trot cue is a double kiss, my canter cue is a quadruple kiss. And I say kiss, when I refine it into just a little clicking noise in my teeth. So normally you'll hear me when I teach it, it's a and then as it evolves, it turns into a I don't know if you can hear that, but my horses, we all know how well horses can hear, so my horses hear that just fine. I teach the canter on the ground, either on a 12-foot line or a 22-foot line, but I like to have my hands on them so I can help them distinguish between you're trotting too fast and that's not what I'm asking for, and I don't want you to get yourself all mentally and emotionally spun out, so let me slow you down and get you under control. Because what happens is I end up seeing, if you try to do it at liberty or you try to do it in a round penning kind of way, the horses, you don't have as much control of slowing them down. You don't have as much control as kind of stopping them from spinning out emotionally and mentally and physically. So what I like to do is keep them on a line so I can kind of break them back down and say, no, that's not what I want you to do. And then we can try it again and I have a little bit more control. So, of course, I always establish my first two cues, which is the walk cue and the trot cue. And then I ask for the canter after they've established their trot. So I'm not wanting them to trot a few strides and then canter from there. I'm not wanting them to trot in this dramatic, spazzy, high-speed trot that, really the only thing that they're able to do is pick up the canter because they can't trot any faster. I introduce the canter cue, and I ask them, once they've cantered, I make sure that my body, so becoming neutral is the most important part there. So I make sure that my body becomes extremely neutral once they've done what I've asked. So if I've asked for the canter and my body's very alive, I'm asking for something and they're supposed to respond to my body. When my body goes neutral, my body goes relaxed, my body goes casual, and I'm just basically allowing them to canter. I leave them alone. In the beginning, you do have to support it. You do have to kind of watch them, so that way if you see that they're about to break back into the trot, you can kiss them back into the thought of don't break. So like I will kiss once to prevent the break. If they do break, then I give them the whole cue again. So if they are about to break, I give them a single kiss. If they're going to break, or they have broke, I will then give them the 4 kisses again to bring them back up into the canter to reestablish the canter and help reinforce the canter cue. I don't see things like that, like them breaking down into the trot, as a disadvantage. I think of that as an advantage during their learning process, because it just gives me an excuse to practice that kiss cue again. It gives me an excuse to keep reinforcing the kiss cue means canter. So I don't see that as a negative thing if the horses break down. Once you've established it, where you know that if I raise my hand and I kiss 4 times, the horse knows and picks up the canter and canters with a lot of confidence, then I incorporate it into the saddle. I don't incorporate it into the saddle until I know for sure that they're getting it on the ground at the cue. I want to make sure that I'm not chasing them. I'm not trying to chase them into a canter. I don't want them to run so fast that they have to canter. I don't want them to, because if you notice horses that do it that way, they're panicked. They're panicked. They're being made to run as fast as their feet can go at this gait, and they're left with no choice but to pick up the canter. But they're doing that through panic. They're doing that through lack of education. They're doing that through force or energy, pressure, and it really doesn't teach them anything. Once I know that they can canter at the trot, I then ask them to canter while in the saddle. Again, I do it exactly the same way. And the best way to do that, like say you did it in a round pen, okay? What I do is I keep the pattern for the horse. So like when I'm teaching it, I'll ask for the canter in the same spot a bunch of times. When I'm sure that they understand it, I'll ask for the canter in a different spot. Same thing when I do it under saddle. But since I do it under saddle pretty much in conjunction with doing it online, what I will do is once I'm on their back, I'll do my walk trot again, letting them feel me on their back, and then I'll ask for the canter in the exact same spot I rehearsed it on the ground. So that way they can pick up on the energy of, oh wait, we've done this before and this is what it means, and I was not in trouble for doing it, and they can continue to believe in themselves that they have the right answer. Then once you know through several attempts to canter in the same spot, then you can ask them to canter in different spots. I think I like to take the time to make sure my horses have their education, much more than I like to just work through problems. I like to avoid problems. If I cannot create problems, I don't have to fix problems. So I take the time when I teach to make sure that they fully understand what I've taught them. And then this way, I don't worry about having to undo unnecessary things like a horse that runs into a canter in a panic. Now I have to break that down and explain it to them. Horses that I work with from the beginning, from the original introduction to the canter, I don't have that problem, but I do work with horses that have struggled in their canter, and it really usually ends up being it's just because they got scared into the canter and they never fully believed that they understood it. They didn't have a complete knowing, and I think that's going to be kind of my big thing, is I want horses to be able to settle into the things that they know because they have an absolute knowing about what you want. And when you do that, when your horses believe you and they have the opportunity to trust in your education for them, they'll trust in you for anything. If you tell them to walk down a plank 1 foot in front of the other, and that's because you've asked them to, and they believe that that's what you're asking them to do because you have have such a solid language, your horse will absolutely walk down a plank, one foot in front of the other, without any suggestion of doubting you, and without any suggestion of maybe even saying an independent thought. They'll do as you've asked because they believe in you that much. So, yes, my topic is canter, but I do want to make sure that people understand my topic is, I really, really, really think if you spend the time and accept the fact that there's time invested in spending the time, meaning you have to invest the time to ensure your horse understands you, but that time that you've invested is so valuable and so imperative, and just makes your whole relationship with your horse so much better. I do find that my own horses, I have to teach people how to do things the way I do things, or how to ride the way I ride, because my horses know that. And if you don't have the understanding of how to ask for things the way my horses understand it, you as somebody who comes from a different riding experience could potentially scare my horses. So I do find that my style is something that needs to be incorporated with a riding education as well. I don't think I have to teach people how to not fall off, but I do think I have to teach people how to sit in a way that the horse understands you, how to ask for your correct lead, when asking for the correct inside lead. You know, your body position matters, and it has to be something that you teach on the ground first. So everything I teach my horses, I teach it on the ground first, and I take the time to teach them, and I know the value of that time investment is priceless. So that's my other point with this one, is take the time to educate your horses one step at a time.